if it works. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this week's webinar from Anicca Digital. We've got a special for you this week. It's actually the Leicester Business Festival, and it's part one of 2 episodes. So the first one is this morning, which is a 2-hour on free marketing. So, and next week it's paid marketing. So if I just introduce the team, if I can just quickly go around the room. So Katie, could you just say hello and what you do and your role today, please?
Hi everyone, I'm Katie. I'm head of marketing and head of the digital marketing boot camps at Anicca Digital. And I've been working in marketing for 20 years now, but don't tell people. I'm trying not to age myself too much.
And then Brad, you're next. So you're going to be doing the SEO one today. So tell us a bit about yourself, please.
Yeah, morning everyone. My name is Brad. I'm an SEO account director at Anicca. I've been with the company just over 7 years and working in SEO for over 10 years.
And you're doing a presentation on SEO, which is the one that you can see here. Amy, you're next up then, aren't you? Get a bit of an intro from you.
Yeah, thank you, Anne. So yeah, I'm after Brad, so I look after content and PR at Anicca. And like Katie, I'm quite long in the tooth as well in terms of my marketing experience. Obviously not old.
No.
So I'll be talking about content and PR and how they can be used in a free way to boost your marketing.
And the final presentation is Rachel. Unfortunately, Rachel's not been very well. So Rachel's going to be joining us a bit later, but we're going to play her recording from last year on organic social. But she'll be available to answer questions and join us, hopefully with not too much of a croakier voice. So for the people that are familiar, what we do now is we're going to run a poll. Katie will run the poll for us. Then the rest of us disappear and leave Brad to do his presentation. And then when Brad gets to the end, myself and Amy will come back in. I'll see if there's any questions with Brad first of all, and then Amy will come back in and do her presentation. The video will be available later on. It'll take a couple of hours to process. And also at the end, we've got some amazing announcements. We've just been given some more boot camp places from East Midlands. So if any of you are interested in the 12-week training course, we've got some more free places to give away for unemployed and self-employed. And also there's an employer event. So if you want any of your staff, you get a 70 to 90% subsidy. So we're running an event next week as well. So there's a few things at the end that we'll share with you. So Katie, over to you with the poll, if that's okay.
Okay, so which free digital marketing channels do you or your company currently use? First option, I'm a student or currently unemployed, and I only know about the internet from my personal use. Second option, our business is well established and relies on word of mouth and referrals. Next one, we are a new business and I'm here to learn what to do. Next one, we are currently writing content for our website, blogs or guides. Option E, we are periodically creating PR campaigns. F, we are currently running an SEO project, including technical SEO, on-page and link building. And the next one, we are currently running regular email campaigns. Next choice, we regularly, I can't say that this morning, sorry everyone. It feels like definitely more like a Friday today. Post using organic social and are building up our followers. And then the next one, we have used these techniques in the past and plan to start again. So yes, but there was a lot of options, to be fair. 18% are saying, writing content for website, blogs and guides. 10% saying, we're periodically creating PR campaigns. 19% are running email campaigns. 26% are posting organic social and are building up followers in that manner. And the rest are just a bit evenly split, really. And there's a few people here who are students and unemployed as well. So welcome, you here. Hope you're all right.
Brilliant. Okay. So let's we'll turn off our cameras and let Brad carry on. So we'll speak to you in about 40 minutes, Brad. Good luck.
Cool.
Bye.
If I've gone too long, just pop up and tell me to hurry up.
Okay, I will.
Will do.
Cool. All right, morning everyone. Hope you're all doing well. My name is Brad. I'm an SEO account director for Anicca. So I'm going to be doing the first presentation today, and I'm going to be talking about how to prepare your site for SEO. We'll go over the agenda quickly. So we'll just do a quick intro to myself, go over the SEO basics. So what is SEO? How does Google rank websites? And then we'll move on to how you can perform in the search results against the SEO ranking factors. So we'll be looking at things like how to see how well you rank for certain phrases, what kind of backlinks you've got, what your content currently looks like, whether you have a local presence. So if you're a local business, you want it to be performing for local SEO. So we'll go over that. And then we'll also look at things like mobile friendliness and site speed. And then just to summarize at the end, I'll give you 10 tips to go away with. So quick about me. Like I said, I've been working in SEO for just over 10 years now. 7 of those are at Anicca. Before that, I worked at another agency. My day-to-day role is mostly around technical SEO. So I work a lot on website launches and migrations, auditing websites, doing strategies for SEO and things like that. But I also look at local SEO. And I'm kind of split between everything. So whether it's a lead generation website or an e-commerce website, I'm kind of involved at that start of the project. So we'll crack on straight into the presentation. So what is SEO? So essentially SEO is search engine optimization, and that is improving the visibility of your brand and its products or services in search engines through non-paid activity to drive more engagement and conversions. So unlike pay-per-click where you pay to be at the top of Google, organic is basically appearing there naturally. So you don't pay for those clicks. Your website authority builds up and you drive traffic organically through naturally just appearing in Google search or Bing or DuckDuckGo, whatever search engine you're focusing on. So it's split into 3 main areas. So the first area of SEO is technical SEO. And this is all about making sure that Google can find your website, making sure it can crawl the website, and making sure you've done things like making sure the pages are secure. So making sure that your pages are HTTPS at the start, not HTTP. The S stands for secure. Also doing things like ensuring the pages load quickly, making sure you're optimizing images and things like that. So essentially it's anything to do with the website that isn't directly the content and editing the on-page content of the site. We've also got on-page SEO. So this is all about the content on the page and on your website. So this is all about providing relevant, engaging content that provokes an action. So that might be, if you're a lead generation site, getting someone to fill out a contact form and what content you can put on your website to make that happen. It also includes adding in things like target key phrases and rich media such as images, videos, white papers and downloads and things. And on-page SEO as well also includes your blogs and any guides that you might be writing that you can leverage to earn links, which then ties us into off-page SEO. And that's all about building links and citations from one website to another. So essentially, the more links that you have from highly authoritative websites, the more votes you're going to get from Google. And that basically means it makes it slightly easier to rank within Google search results. And you'll get out there and you'll be performing better. So when we're looking at SEO ranking factors, Google has over 200 or so ranking factors that it considers when it's looking at how it wants to show your website and whereabouts in the search results it's going to put you. But you can kind of narrow those down to sort of half a dozen or so main factors that kind of cover everything. So the first thing that Google will look at is things like the content depth. So is the content on the website answering the question that a user has searched? Is the topic relevant to what they're searching for, and is it unique, or is it being copied from another website? And Google doesn't like you copying websites from other sites. So if you are duplicating the content on the site, Google's not going to show your website. It's going to show the person that originally posted that content. Of course, you can quote other websites and things like that. So you can put a paragraph or something from another website, but to be sure, you want to make sure that you're citing where you found that information and link it back to them. It'll also look at the backlinks. So this will look at the backlinks that point to your website as a whole and the actual page that you're trying to rank as well. So it will look at it from seeing how many backlinks the website has as a whole. And then it will look at the one page that it's trying to rank and say, oh, this has got X amount of links from all these websites. It must be really topical. So this page is going to rank higher. And then it will also look at local visibility. So this is mainly for anyone with a local business. It will be looking at your proximity to where the user's searching for, whether you're mentioning that area on your website. It will look at things like citation listings, which we'll go into a bit later, your NAP details, which is your name, address, and phone number, whether you've got a Google My Business profile or anything like that. And then it'll also look at mobile friendliness. So Google now uses a mobile first index. So this basically means that it ranks websites based on how well the mobile site performs and how it looks. So if your website isn't mobile friendly, you might find yourself struggling to rank within the search results quite a bit. And then it also looks at page speed. So Google wants obviously the websites to load as quickly as they can. Typically, if your website takes longer than a few seconds to load, the user will just click back and go to another website. So when we're looking at why we should be doing SEO, ongoing SEO, content marketing, and link building will increase your organic visibility, qualified traffic, and conversions over time so that you can afford to pay less traffic in the long term whilst hitting your revenue targets. So there's an example here of what a multi-channel marketing campaign would look like. And as you can see, organic search is £3,000 a month, for example, on this one. And that would be the same over the whole term of the project. When we look at paid search, typically you start off with more budget whilst you're working out how to make those ads work and get the best return from those ads. And then you can start scaling it back. And that part at the start with paid search, obviously you increase that to make up for, the traffic you're not currently getting from organic search. So whereas with paid search, you can pay for an ad and you'll appear instantly. With organic search, it does take a lot longer. You have to build Google's trust and show that you've got that authority. So typically, if you're starting from scratch, it might take you 9, 12 months, possibly 18 months to start gaining enough traction to make SEO work for you. It is a very slow burn, but we want to make sure that, we're doing things properly and making sure that Google can understand that, this website is building authority so that it starts showing us up for more. And when your organic starts to build more visits, you're not paying more for all those visits. You're paying the exact same amount, or you might be paying nothing if you're doing it all in-house. But if you're paying an agency, typically, that organic search budget stays exactly the same every month. And similarly to paid search as well, if you stop paying for your ads, you stop showing up. With organic search, if you stop doing SEO, competitors will eventually catch up to you. So you might not straight away notice a difference in your traffic, but over the course of a few months, if you're not doing any SEO, you'll probably find that your rankings start to slowly fall back down. So moving on to how we actually look at SEO and analyze our performance and see how we're doing. We want to see what kind of key phrases we rank for. So if you're new to SEO and you don't currently have any tools, there's a few links in this presentation that will direct you to different tools. And here we can put in a specific landing page on our website, and it will show us what key phrases are driving traffic to that page. So you can see if we put in a page for the Dykeman Shoes website. You can see down here we've got the top traffic driving keywords, and we can see that the brand name is the top performing keyword. It's ranking #1 in Google, and it equates to 40% of the traffic. And then we move down and we can see that, there's some products starting to appear in here, and categories of products. So women's ankle boots, we can see again, we're performing really well for that. It's not got a huge amount of traffic, but we can see that, 33,000 people a month are searching for that specific key phrase. So we can go down here and have a look and see what kind of key phrases we're appearing for. You can do this, maybe start off with the homepage to see what you show up for your homepage. And then if you've got any category pages or service pages, start putting those pages in and seeing what kind of things they're showing up for. If you are familiar with SEO, you're probably already using paid for tools. So a tool that we always recommend is called SEO Monitor, and we can put in a list of key phrases into this tool, and it will bring up the search volumes for those key phrases. It will bring up where we currently rank. So here it will tell us what our position in Google is for these key phrases, and it'll also tell us whether we're doing better or worse than the previous period that we've specified in the tool. So we can see, for this key phrase, we're position 3, and we've gone up 3 places for it. And this is quite good as well because it gives you misspelled keywords. So if you are putting key phrases in, we tend to actually put a few misspellings in. Obviously, Google might put "did you mean" at the top of the Google search and change it for you anyway. But you can see with school shoes, even spelt wrong, there's such a huge volume for it. So we kind of monitor these things as well, just especially if you're in quite a niche thing, making sure that you're covering off any misspellings. You don't necessarily want to optimize for that on the website, but it's good to know that if someone does spell it wrong, your website does show up. You can also use tools to see how your competitors rank for these phrases as well. So you can either use Google and just search for whatever products or services you want to be found for, and you can go through and take a list of whoever's ranking for those phrases and put them into a spreadsheet or something like that. Or you can use the tools to put in the competitors, whichever competitors you specify in key phrases, and the tools will spit out where they rank for those same phrases. Obviously, if you're going to use the manual method, it's not a scalable option. But if you are on a budget, there's no reason why you can't pick out 10 or 20 key phrases, list who's kind of ranking at the top for those phrases, and see if there's any trends. And that way you'll be able to see whether there's any competitors that are kind of dominating the area that you're in. And those are the websites that you want to aim to beat in the long term. So we also look at backlinks and whether the website has any backlinks from other sites. The more backlinks that you have, the more votes of confidence essentially you get from other websites, according to Google. So Google looks at a link as a vote of confidence, and it's one website saying to Google that it trusts your website and that you should rank your website in the search results as well. The more of those links you've got from other reputable websites, the more likely it is you're going to find it easier to show up in Google for that page. When we're talking about backlinks, we also want to focus on quality rather than quantity, and we want the links that we get to be from reputable websites. So, there's websites you can go on like Fiverr and you can buy 100 backlinks, and you think, oh, the more backlinks we've got, the higher we're going to rank. But those links are going to be poor in Google's eyes. It's going to ignore those links, and it's not going to have any effect on how you rank. So trying to earn editorial links is where you want to go with this. So yeah, focus on how many websites link to you instead of how many links you get from each site. So similarly to like I just said, focus on quality, not quantity. Google will only count one link from each website. So if you've got 100 links from one website, Google will pick one of those and pass the authority from that one link. and it might not be the homepage of that site. It might be a page that's really far down their site's hierarchy, and then you're not going to get much authority from that. So where possible, you just want one link from one website. And the primary metric to measure the quality of a website's backlink profile above all is domain authority. So this is a score out of 100 that any kind of authority or off-page SEO tool will give you. And this is a score that they're basing on what they think Google looks at. So sites like the BBC and the Telegraph and Facebook and global brands that kind of just dominate everything in the world, they'll have a domain score that's closer to 100 out of 100, whereas most everyday websites can be anywhere from sort of 0 to about 60 or 70. If you've got a brand new domain, you will start at 0, and essentially the more links and traffic you get, the higher that score will get, but it does take a long time to build up that domain authority. You also want to benchmark your authority against competitors as well and see how theirs is. Essentially, if you've got a competitor that has a really high domain authority and yours is quite low, you want to focus your efforts on the technical side of SEO and the on-page SEO rather than, trying to compete with them on their domain authority, because they can rely on their authority to rank within Google, whereas you have to make sure the content that you're putting out is answering more questions than theirs is. So another tool that we can use to check is Ahrefs. They have a free tool called a Website Authority Checker, and you can put your website into this tool and it will tell you what your domain rating is. It does do it on a domain as a whole, not a single page. So you have two metrics essentially in Ahrefs and most other tools. You have a domain rating or a domain authority. That's the amount of authority your website has as a whole. And you also have a page authority or a page rating, and that is the authority for that specific page. So your page authority, if you put in a single page, you'll get one score, and then your domain rating will be different. If you put another page from your website in, your domain rating will still be the same, but your page rating will be different. So we want to make sure that we've got a good percentage of linking websites and backlinks. So like I said, ideally you want one backlink from one website, and you want that across a whole host of different websites. So you can see here, this website has 29,000 linking domains, and in total there's 947,000 backlinks. So you can tell straight away from there that there's going to be some websites that are probably pointing 100 or more links back to this website. Like I say, Google will only count one of those links. So although you've got 947,000 backlinks, it's only going to count 29,000 of them, because that's how many different websites link to you. You can also put your competitors in here as well. So if you do find that you're struggling to rank for a specific key phrase, or maybe you're at the bottom of page 1 and you can't get into the top half of page 1, you can put your competitors in here and see what their domain rating is. And if they've got a much higher domain rating, like I say, you might go back to the drawing board and think, okay, how do we improve the content to answer more questions than our competitors answering? Can we put some FAQs on the page, or do a video to make the page more interactive for the user and things like that? Like I say, you can also pull individual stats for pages that rank versus yours. So you might need a premium version of a tool like Ahrefs to see the full backlink data on a page. However, you can see on Ahrefs, they have another free tool that gives you an indication of some of the backlinks the website has that you can access for free. But obviously, because it's the free version, you only get a small proportion of that backlink data. But you can get some rough guidance in other tools as well. So you've got this SEO reviews tool link here in this slide. The slides should go around after, so you'll be able to access all these links. But yeah, what you want to do is look at pages specifically as well. So if you are trying to, for example, get a good ranking for Nike trainers, you want to put these specific pages into the tool to get, the amount of keywords that's showing up for, the URL rating, so the page rating, see if there's one in there. If there's none in there, it probably means that the page isn't that great. And you can also have a look at the total amount of backlinks as well. So you can see here, Next has no backlinks to their page, whereas Sports Direct have 30 backlinks to their page. And as you can see, between these two examples, Sports Direct ranks higher for ladies' Nike trainers, and that's because their page has got more links. So what do we do to improve our backlink profile? This is kind of where SEO, content marketing, and PR all meet together. So Amy, when she does her slides after me, she'll be going more into the kind of the content and PR related activities. But from an SEO point of view, we'd want to perform a full backlink audit of our website and also our competitors' websites to flag any relevant and irrelevant spam looking sites. If you do have lots of links from spammy websites, you used to get penalized for this by Google because they thought that you were obviously trying to pay for links, or you've got someone doing SEO that doesn't quite follow Google's guidelines. And yeah, they used to give you a penalty in Google and it could last for ages and you wouldn't show up or anything. Now Google tends to just ignore those bad links because it knows that a lot of the time webmasters and site owners, they don't have control over who's linking to them. A lot of the time, back when you used to get penalized for it, more shady SEO kind of people would build spam links to competitor websites to punish them websites and make it easier for their own website or their clients' websites to rank. So now Google kind of ignores them, but we need to keep an eye on these links. And if we do find that the website is struggling to rank, we can use a process called the disavow. And that's a file that you give to Google to say, look, we know these links are really bad. Here they are. Don't look at them. We've tried to remove them, but we can't. Once you've done that, do the same for your competitor websites, but we don't need to look at the bad links that they've got. We want to find whether they're doing any kind of link building activities. So if they've got a lot of links from different blogs or industry websites, or if you're part of like industry bodies and things like that, or there's trade press and things like that, whether they're getting links from there. And we want to use this data that we find to build a link building strategy. And what this link building strategy is essentially a strategy where you can say, okay, these competitors have all of these links and this competitor has all of these links. They've both got links on these websites, so that should be a link that we can get as well if our competitors have got it. Or you might say, okay, 50% of the links they've got from industry magazine type websites and trade publications and things like that. So we know that we can get those links as well because we're in that trade. So we're going to target these websites. We're going to put content out, send it over to them, and see what they say. Or we're going to try and build a relationship with these blogs or magazines or whatever, and try and see how we can earn links from those websites. We're also going to perform a content audit for the whole website. So we create a content marketing strategy and translate the resulting content ideas into a marketing calendar. And this is where typically my team that's more SEO focused would work with Amy's team to create the content people want to link to. So we kind of, from an SEO point of view, we say, okay, this is the SEO content we want to write, and these are the keywords we want to perform for. We can pass that over to Amy, who knows how to do all the PR and things like that, and she can say, okay, well, with this content, we can reach out to these publications, or with this, we can create a guide or an infographic or something like that. And we know with an infographic, we're more likely to get some PR coverage from that. So once we've got that calendar in place, you also want to make sure when you are creating your marketing calendar that you're taking into account public holidays, any industry events and things like that, so that you can tailor your content to put out at the right time. So After that, we want to create useful, engaging, and keyword optimized supporting content regularly. So this is all about making sure that if you've got a blog or something like that, that you're posting on it regularly and you're targeting specific key phrases around the area that you're in and making sure that it is useful and engaging. So don't just write blogs for the sake of, trying to hit word counts or trying to hit, oh, we've said we're going to write 5 blog posts a month, so we need to write these even if they're not that great. Google is really good now at working out whether content is actually good and whether it's answering questions that a user asks. So if you put out content kind of just for the sake of it and it's not really that great and no one's engaging with it that well, Google, they just won't show it in search. So making sure anything that we put out is engaging and there's a purpose to it, that gives us the best chance of improving our SEO. Another more technical thing that we can do is broken link building, bit of a tongue twister. So this is a form of link building that is designed to find links to broken pages on your website. So if you are using tools like Ahrefs or any kind of link tracking tool, they usually have a section on there called like a broken links section. And what it does is it flags up any websites that are linking to your website, but they're linking to a page that no longer exists. So it might be a 404 page or a page that's redirecting somewhere else. If you've got a link that's pointing to a 404 page, it's not only bad for a user that might click on that link, it's also providing authority to a page that doesn't exist anymore. So you're not getting any benefit from that. So we want to find those links and we want to go back to the webmaster that's linking to your website and say, look, you're linking to our website here, but this page doesn't exist anymore. We've got a more up-to-date guide here. Can you change the link? If you have no luck doing that, then you can just put a redirect in, a 301 redirect, which will basically send a user from that broken page to a page that does exist on your website. And therefore, that authority that it's passing through will get transferred to that other page. You won't get as much authority because that redirect will dilute quite a bit, but at least you're still getting something. We also want to make sure that we're looking at how in-depth the content is. So the content that we want to be looking at, we want to make sure that we're answering questions. We want to make sure that we're looking at what websites are performing well and how many headings they've got, what the word count is and things like that. So you can see the 2 examples here. We've got one on the left that seems a lot more in depth. There's a lot more content there. It seems to answer more questions. However, the content on the right that's less in depth, they actually rank higher because they have a high number of backlinks to that page. So the example on the left, we know that we've got more in-depth content, but we're still not doing as well. So what I'd do from here is look at what else we can add to that. I'd look whether there's any FAQs or anything like that we can add to the page. So a really good idea for doing that is type in whatever key phrase you're trying to rank for in Google. There'll be a people also ask box that comes up in Google, and it'll just contain a box of questions. If you start clicking on those questions, more questions will keep appearing. And this is the type of thing that we want to be doing to make sure we're answering questions with our content. So although it might just be about ladies' night trainers, there might be loads of questions around what is the best lady night trainers for running, what night trainers should I wear to the gym, what are the comfiest night trainers, and questions like that. All of those questions are things that you should be answering in your content. If you're appearing to answer more of those questions and more people are clicking on your listing, that and people are engaging with that content and they go on and they purchase from you and they don't go back into Google and go on another website, that can actually influence slightly how Google ranks your website. So if people are going to this top example on the right and they think, oh, there's not much content here, we're going to go back to Google, and then they click on this website on the left and go and buy, Google can work out that they've gone to that website, they've jumped straight back off it, gone to another site, and they've performed an action. So they know that this page is answering more questions than that one, and therefore it might decide to rank this page higher. So making sure you are answering questions is really important. So since we are looking at ranking keywords, they need to take people to a page, and that page needs to mention those keywords in order to rank in the first place. So when we're looking at on-page optimization, we're looking at a few main things. We've got pre-click elements and post-click elements. Pre-click elements are things that people see before they click on your website, and post-click elements are things that people see after they've clicked on your website. So here we've got a title tag, and we've got a meta description. The title tag for your page is what shows up in Google and is the link that people click. So that is a pre-click element, because people are seeing that before they click on your website. So we need to make sure that the title is optimized for the key phrase that we want to perform for. We need to make sure that we're mentioning it in the title at the beginning, and we need to make sure that it makes sense to a user as well. The title tag is probably the most influential thing that Google looks at. So it carries the most weight in terms of on-page optimization. So if you're going to optimize anything, make sure you've got an optimized page title. You've also got your meta description. So this part here, this isn't a ranking factor. It's not something that Google looks at. However, it is really important that you write this within Google's best guidelines. You want to make sure you're including calls to actions and any USPs you have, because it does obviously show up in Google, and it makes, if you've got a well-written meta description, more people are likely to click through to your website. Again, that's a pre-click element. So if someone finds your website and they think, oh yeah, this is what we're actually looking for, I'm looking for an opticians in Leicester. So they click on your website. You then have your H1 tag. So this would be typically this proudly independent opticians in Leicester. This is the first post-click element, and it's probably the most important on-page aspect that Google will look at as well. Google did roll out an update a few months ago where they started displaying H1s in Google instead of page titles. So just to be safe, we recommend trying to keep your page title and your H1 similar in what they say. That's a recommendation anyway, because you need to keep the page on topic and make sure that you are optimizing for the same key phrase throughout that page. So yeah, you have your H1 tag. That's the most important thing to Google. And then you have your body content that's on the page as well. So you want to mention your key phrase. So if you're trying to optimize for Opticians Leicester, obviously you want it in your page title. Although it won't affect your ranking, you can put it in your description as well. And if you mention your key phrases in your meta description, if someone searches for that in Google, it does show up in bold. So you can see if we've searched for Opticians in Leicester, this listing here, you can see Opticians in Leicester is in bold. And that just helps reinforce to a user that they're mentioning the key phrases that you're searching for. In terms of body content, like I say, you want to make sure that you are mentioning Opticians in Leicester within that content as well. You don't want to mention it too much so that it doesn't read naturally. Google's kind of natural language processing can understand when you're trying to game the system and you're stuffing too many key phrases in there. So you always want to make sure that you're writing content for the user. So when we're looking at how to write and optimize content, we want to do some key phrase research to identify the most relevant keywords. You can do that using a few different tools. So you've got WordStream, Keywords Everywhere, and Answer the Public. Answer the Public is probably the most popular out of all of them. Essentially, if you put in your target word that you want to show up for, Answer the Public brings up like a mind map type thing, and it puts like who, what, where, why in front of it and asks loads of questions about that, so that you can build out a page that is about that target key phrase, but it also answers all these popular questions that people might be asking as well. You can also use SEMrush or SEO Monitor as well. They are quite expensive, or SEMrush is quite expensive. SEO Monitor is a bit more competitively priced. But like I say, if you don't have the budget to be investing in these tools, there's quite a lot you can do for free. Then we find the relevant content to optimize the keywords on. So if you say, okay, we want to optimize for ladies night trainers, what page on your website is most relevant to that key phrase? If you've got a ladies section and then Nike trainers, obviously it's going to be on that page. If you don't have a Nike trainers page for ladies, consider creating one. You don't want to be putting too many different key phrases on a single page. You want everything to be very topical and kind of close together. Confirm what actions you want users to perform once they are on the page, and write and optimize content according to this. So if you're a lead generation site, obviously the most important thing you want someone to do is fill out a contact form. So we want to make sure that we're creating content that is tailored to getting that user to fill out a contact form. So if they've landed on your website thinking they've searched for something in particular, and they think they're going to find out about that and they don't, a user's not going to fill out your contact form. They're just going to go back into Google and go to a different site. So make sure you're writing your content to answer the questions that might come up when someone's searching. So use that people also ask to put in an FAQ section on your page. Use different questions. Speak to your salespeople, for example, and see what questions they get asked and include that on the page. And then look at doing things like making sure the form is accessible on all devices, making sure that, you know, if they're on a mobile phone, you know, if there's a button for someone to call you on a mobile phone, they should be able to click that button and it calls you. If they're on a desktop device, then the likelihood is they'll want to email you or something. So change the call button to an email me button on desktop. And also make sure that, you know, if your contact form is right at the bottom of the page and someone has to scroll all the way down, you know, add a button nearer the top of the page that takes someone to the bottom to fill out the form. Another thing that we want to do as well for SEO, especially if we're a local business, is increase local visibility and footfall. So you can optimize to appear locally in Google, and you can test your local visibility by doing a local search and look for the local map pack results, and also look on directories as well. So if you are a local business and you have a storefront and you're trying to attract people that are close to you, search for your business, whatever you're in. So if you're an optician, search for opticians in Leicester. See if you come up in the search results, in the map packs. Also see if you're listed on these directories as well. So often for local searches, there will be this find results on box. And if you've got this directory coming up, so 3 best rated, and then you've got car packs, and then you've got yale.com, you know, make sure you're listed on these directories, because if people click on these, they can still find your website. You also want to look at the standard organic results as well. So as well as appearing in the local results, you might also appear in the normal results as well. So Google treats the local map results and the local organic results differently. They have slightly varying ranking factors. So for a map pack result, obviously the main thing that Google's going to look at is your Google business profile. They're going to make sure you've got one and how well optimized it is, whether you've got reviews, how close you are to the user and things like that. Whereas to appear in these organic results, Google's going to look at the more traditional stuff. So it's, like I say, it's going to look at, you know, your page titles, your headings, the content on the page itself, what links you've got pointing to that page, and so on. One tool that you can use to check how well you do locally is called Bright Local as well. So again, you can kind of run different things, like they're called citation trackers, and it basically goes through and sees, you know, how consistent your local visibility is, whether you're appearing, you know, on these directories up here and things like that. And then it will give you a score. So to optimize for local SEO and NAP, which is name, address, and phone number, we basically want to align exactly how those details appear across the web. So essentially, you need to have a consistent name, address, and phone number on every single website across the web. So first thing you want to do is agree what you want your address to show as in Google, and your business name and your phone number, for example. So if you're a limited company, you know, you need to decide whether you have limited at the end or just LTD, or you don't have that at all. You want to, if you've got an address where you're in an industrial estate or something, you know, you need to say, okay, do we have the unit number and the name of the street name and then the industrial estate, or do we remove the industrial estate from it? Essentially, it needs to be consistent across everywhere. So it needs to be consistent on your website. It needs to be consistent on your Google business profile. It needs to be consistent on any directory listings you have. It needs to be consistent on Bing Maps, on Apple Maps, on your Facebook page, on absolutely everything. It needs to be exactly the same for it to have the best effect that it can have. And it can even be down to really stupid things like whether your phone number has the spaces in the right order. So whether you've got 3 numbers, then a space, then 4 numbers, or so on. Google can be really picky with even things like that. So then, once you've agreed on everything and it's all going to be consistent, make sure you've got it mentioned on your website, on the contact page, or on the location page if you've got multiple locations. You want to make sure you've got all those details on. So you've got your business name, your address, your phone number, contact details, logos, things like that. You also want to set up and optimize Google My Business profile. So if you don't have one of these yet, this is probably the most effective thing that you can do for a local business. It allows you to have a presence online without even having a website. So if you don't have a Google Business profile yet, I'd do that today as soon as you can. It's highly influential in local rankings. And it also allows people to leave reviews and things like that. So it gives you more chance of showing up even if you don't have a website. Users can leave reviews. You can actually post on it like you would a Facebook page as well. You can do all sorts with it. Once you've set up Google Business profile or aligned that to match the details that are on your website, you also want to go through and fix any local links and citations you've got. So like I say, go through Bright Local, or go through, search your sector and location, find what directories show up, go on there, and if you're listed on there, make sure those details exactly match your website. If not, go in and claim that listing and update it. Or if you're not listed on there, just go and create a free listing on there as well. So as of Sunday, this is what Google Business Profile looked like. It doesn't look like this anymore. They changed it yesterday. But essentially, Google Business Profile, it's like I say, it's kind of like the hub for your website. It allows you to have a presence without having a website, and it's what shows up in Google Maps. You can still access your listing in Google Business Profile. However, to edit it, you now need to Google your business name and be logged into your Google account, and then it will show up. It will say your business has performed this well in search, and then it will come up with a box that basically has a load of different icons on it where you can edit your details. So you can't access a kind of like a dashboard like this anymore. You have to go in, make sure you're logged into Google, search for your business name, and then you'll have all of these, posts, info, insights, and things in those boxes in the actual Google search results, and you can go in and edit your profile from there. Like I say, they changed that yesterday, I think. So now, even if you've got multiple locations, you have to go into Google search to edit them. We also look at mobile friendliness as well. So moving on from local and more onto the more technical side of stuff. Like I say, Google is now a mobile first index. So it looks at your mobile website and decides how well you're going to rank based on your mobile site, not your desktop site. So even if you're in an industry where the majority of users are using desktop, so if you're more of a B2B site, it's typical that more people are going to visit your site on desktop. Google will still look at that mobile version of your website. So we want to make sure that when we're designing a website or whether we're optimizing a website, that our mobile site is kind of more of a priority. Most developers will, or when you're designing a website, you always put the focus on how good it's going to look on a desktop, and then the mobile is a bit of an afterthought. We kind of need to switch that thinking around and say, this is how it's going to look on a mobile device, because as a whole, most people use mobile devices and Google will favor the mobile site as well. So you can see on there how much mobile traffic has grown. So in 2015, it was only 30% of traffic. We're now up to over 50%. So we want to keep that going and making sure that that number is only ever going to rise, so making sure that the website is mobile friendly. So to test that, there's a couple of different free tools that we can use. Google has a mobile friendly test, and so does Bing. If you put your website, this does it page by page. So you want to, do page by page in the Google mobile friendly test. And Google will tell you whether your page is mobile friendly or not. If it pops up saying this page is mobile friendly, then great. You're going to get the benefit of having a mobile friendly website compared to competitors that might not. If it's not mobile friendly, it'll pop up and it'll tell you why. The most common reasons are on a mobile device, the font is too small. So you need developers to go in and set the style sheet so that when it's on a mobile device, the font is bigger. It might be that, when you've designed your website, you've got maybe 3 or 4 boxes in a row on desktop, but on mobile they get squished together. And if you can click on those and they're really close together, you might click on the wrong one because the boxes are too small. So having clickable elements that are too close together, that's another really popular one. But yeah, you can run your website through here to get an idea of whether your pages are mobile friendly or not. You can also use Google Search Console, and that will give you a mobile usability report. So Google will just crawl all your pages and it will flag to you any pages that aren't mobile friendly. If you don't have Google Search Console yet, again, it's another essential tool that I'd highly recommend doing as soon as possible. Google Search Console is more of a health center for your website, and it tells you, what people are searching for in Google to find your website, how many times your website's been shown for that key phrase versus how many times people have actually clicked your website. So clicks versus impressions and click-through rate. It will tell you whether you've got any crawling issues with the website. So Google can't index your site for whatever reason. And then it gives you all these mobile usability issues as well. So you can also, if you don't have a mobile friendly website or Google's flagging up saying that your site isn't mobile friendly, you want to go in and test those pages. So you can do this using your desktop if you want. You can go on your mobile, check it, or you can have a look and see whether on your desktop, if you drag the bottom of the screen and it makes the window bigger or smaller. If the page is adapting to however big that window is, then you've got a mobile friendly website, a responsive site. So we want to make sure that websites are mobile friendly. So you have the desktop version of the site here, that looks all fine. If your website looks like this on mobile, then that's bad. It's not mobile friendly, and Google's not going to give you, as much favor in the Google rankings because obviously people on a mobile are just going to have a bad experience. You want your website to look like this on a mobile site. So as the page gets smaller, everything changes to the size of that screen. The banners have changed at the top, so they fit a mobile. You've got a little hamburger menu here that you can click on and expand. and people that visit the site on a mobile to this site, they're going to have a good experience. So to make sure that the site is mobile friendly, we want to make sure that the layout and all interactive elements respond to the screen size. You want to make sure content responds in a way that is user friendly, so it doesn't get pushed too far down and it's large enough to read. We don't want things to go off the side of the page so a user has to scroll across. We want to make sure that the content on the desktop and mobile version is the same. So a lot of the time people will just get rid of content on a mobile version of their website because it makes the page too long. However, that's not a good idea because Google's going to look at the mobile version and it's not going to see half of the content that's there because it's only on the desktop. So if you are cutting content out of your mobile version and you're finding yourself you're not ranking very well, it's probably because you've cut that content out of the mobile version of the website. So another ranking factor as well that Google looks at is, especially now we've got a mobile user experience, is the page load speeds. Page load speed and the core web vitals are becoming more and more important to Google. Users on the web are increasingly impatient and they won't wait for poor websites to load. So there's some stats on here that you can see. So 1 in 4 visitors would abandon a website that takes more than 4 seconds to load. 46% of users don't revisit poorly performing websites. 64% of shoppers who are dissatisfied with their site visit will shop somewhere else next time. And a 1 second delay reduces customer satisfaction by 16%. So, you know, for every extra second that your website takes to load, it's going to take 16% of those users away from your site, essentially. So ensuring that your website is as fast as possible is becoming more and more important. And Google does put a bit of weight in its rankings to websites that are loading quickly and are more user friendly. So we can use another free Google tool to test our landing pages to see. And this tool will give you a score out of 100, and it will also suggest what to fix on that page. So ideally, you want to score 90 to 100 out of 100 to be classed as good by Google. 50 to 89, Google classes it's all right, but you need to improve it. Anything under 50, Google will typically say is a poor user experience. But it does come up with a few recommendations on things that you can fix and where the time savings would be. So I'd run your website through the tool and have a look. It will say things like whether the images need optimizing or whether, you know, the hosting could be improved or the server, whether there's loads of code in the background being loaded that doesn't need to be loaded and things like that. You can also use a tool called Pingdom as well and see how many actual seconds it took and what elements on your page slowed it down. So this gives you like a performance grade and it'll tell you in seconds how long the page took to load. And it'll also give you a few, again, like I say, things to improve your page performance. Something that Google released more recently was the Core Web Vitals and the Page Experience Update. So this is focusing on 3 main things, as well as the website being mobile friendly, safe browsing, with the website being HTTPS and things like that. It also looks at the loading and the interactivity of the website. So these 3 things at the top we call the Core Web Vitals. And they're made up of the largest contentful paint. So that is going to be like a banner or a heading at the top of the page. The element which is the biggest that takes, you know, is the largest element that's going to be loaded up on that page. It also looks at the first input delay. So this is essentially how long it takes your website to become interactive. So how long does it take from a user clicking on your website to them being able to click a button or click the navigation or something like that. And then it also looks at the cumulative layout shift. And this is all about whether the page is moving about as it's loading up. So it might be that you've got 3 images that load up and one loads there and then another loads there and it pushes that image across. And then you've got some content that loads in and pushes the images down. Google wants to eliminate that from websites because obviously as people become more impatient when they're visiting the website. As soon as the page has started loading, they want to click to get somewhere. And if your page is moving about as it's loading and someone clicks on the wrong thing, it leads to a poor user experience. So you get measured on these, and that tool, the page speed tool, if you're getting enough data through Google Chrome for your website, you'll get a score for those pages, and you'll also get a score in Google Search Console as well for your pages as well. And essentially, it's a pass or a fail. There's no, oh, you're doing all right, or you just need to improve it a little bit. You either pass the Core Web Vitals or you fail it, and you'll get a score for each of these metrics that I spoke about as well. When you are looking at that, you can see exactly what you're failing on, and then you can speak to a developer or someone and say, we've got too much layout shift when the page is loading. Can you try and minimize that so that we pass the Core Web Vitals? So some initial tips to improve page speed. So aim for less than 5 seconds for a page to load up. Ideally under 2 seconds, or at least 70 out of 100 score on page speed insights. Obviously, we all want to get to 100 out of 100, which is obviously achievable. But if you're scoring sort of 70 or more, you're going to be better than the average of most of the other websites. To improve that score, we want to make sure that the size of your images as well are low, but the image quality is still good. So we can use tools like compressor.io or Photoshop, or WordPress plugins like Smush to improve image sizing. So image sizing typically means that the website's going to, if you've got a high image size, the website's going to load slower. Whereas if you optimize all your images and they're a smaller file size, there's less for the website to do as it loads up. You also want to ensure that JavaScript and CSS code is economic as possible, so reducing any unused code. You can use WordPress plugins for this. If you're not on WordPress, you probably have to speak to a developer. Typically, developers will charge quite a bit for that, but you want to try and get them to do whatever they can as efficiently as they can. So if there's loads of JavaScript code on the page that gets loaded up and it doesn't need to be, ask them to remove that. And then also ensure your server is fast enough as well. So if you also have a website that serves a global audience and people access your website from all over the world, consider a content delivery network or a CDN. These are things like Cloudflare, and what they do is they host your website at different servers across the web, and wherever that user is in the world, they get served the content from the server that's closest to them. That can help improve your page load speeds. We also have a more detailed instruction and action kind of blog for you on the Anicca website. You can visit that through our blog here. So that is kind of an offer that we have or had running for Core Web Vitals and things like that. There's some information about the Core Web Vitals that you can see on there, and we can kind of guide you through on auditing that as well.
Brad, I think this is your last slide, so we're running a bit late. So if you could zoom through this list, please.
Yeah,
and
this
then
is the last
Amy,
slide.
if you could come in, that would be brilliant. I bet you can't see the time, can you?
No. So yeah, just to finish off with 10 top SEO tips to remember. And my voice is going now as well. List your backlinks and flag the good or bad ones to action. So any good links that you've got from good websites, put them in a good pile. They're the links that you want to mirror and get more of. Do the same for your competitors. If they're getting loads of links from sites that you're not, put them in a kind of like a wish list, and you can work with your PR person, or if you're doing it all yourself, you can target those media outlets in your strategy. Create a content marketing strategy and calendar so that you know when you're going to write content, what it's going to be about. Try and tie that into any seasonal events and things like that. Write in-depth content for humans to provoke a desired conversion on your pages. So essentially, whenever you're writing content on the site, do it for the person that's going to read it. Don't do it for Google. Google knows when you're writing for them. Optimize your key content for keywords. So titles, headings, body content. Make sure they're all got your target key phrases in. If you don't have a Google My Business yet, go and set one up after the webinar. If you do have a Google My Business, make sure it's aligned to the address on your website. Build local citations. So search for your sector and locality, see what directories come up at the top and get yourself listed on those. Make sure your site is mobile friendly. If there are mobile friendliness issues, make sure you fix them. Also check if your website loads fast and make it load at least 5 seconds or lower. Like I say, 2 would be ideal. Also make sure that you're trying to pass the Core Web Vitals, because Google's starting to put a little bit of weight behind that now. And I would imagine in the next year or couple of years, that will become a more important ranking factor. So if you can get ahead of the curve with that, then you stand a better chance of ranking well for longer. Write, optimize, and promote some supporting content regularly. So make sure you're keeping your blog up to date. Make sure you're sharing that out on your email newsletter, on social media profiles and things like that. And that was it. So if you've got any questions, feel free to email me at brad@anicca.co.uk or just find me on LinkedIn. But yeah, I've done my time now. I won't hold the other guys up too long.
So Brad, there's a few questions in the chat, but we've run out of time. So if you could answer those, please. What I'll do is I'll load up Amy's slides. If we do run out of time, we'll carry on going because you can catch the video later. But obviously Rachel will join in a little while. I think you've got 36 slides, haven't you, Amy? So can you see your slides okay, Amy?
Yeah, sorry. I was
Thanks very much, Brad.
Thank you.
Also, if everybody's interested, if you go to the handouts, all the slides can be gathered from there, and we will be giving you the sending out the video later. I'll reappear in about 40 minutes. Okay, good luck.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, guys. Thank you very much for Brad speaking. Some really interesting topics he covered, particularly as it feeds so well into what we do in terms of content and PR. And, you know, to have that insight in terms of things like the local Google My Business activity, you know, he can pinpoint what's happened overnight, you know, in terms of changes. So some great insights and information there. So the work that Brad does for SEO really, as I say, feeds into PR and content marketing. And at Anicca, we work really closely together because the work that Brad does from a technical perspective really kind of informs and shapes what we can do from a PR and content element. So I'm going to run through a little bit about that now. This is what I'll be talking about. So I'm going to introduce me. I'm going to then show you and talk to you about what PR is all about, or public relations. We call it PR sort of in the industry and in-house. Talk about content marketing. Then I'm going to talk about how we kind of blend the two together so they don't sit there separate. They're actually very much an integrated approach. We're going to look at some PR techniques and some different content marketing techniques, so things that you can actually do to bring those two disciplines to life. And really important for you guys today, I'll be talking about how what you can do with both PR and content marketing to kind of make it relevant and useful for your own business. And like Brad, I've got a top 10 list of things that can really make a difference. So if you take anything away from today, like the top 10 things are kind of, if you could implement those straight away, that would be amazing. Okay. So a little bit about me. I've got longer hair now, so I've got, I think we said earlier, several years PR and comms experience. I've worked both in agencies and in-house. For example, I've worked at Waitrose in their head office, and I was looking after corporate comms there, so kind of all the issues and the reputation management kind of things, and also kind of food-related and agricultural issues. And and several agencies, and most recently obviously working at Anicca, where I look after PR and content marketing. So what does that mean? So I look after the sort of main PR strategy for clients. So that's setting their strategies up for the year and seeing how we deploy those across the different weeks and months that we're working with them. So that could be creating newsworthy content, getting stories out there, or creating copy that actually has it has some link building in it as well, but obviously is promoting different stories and news from those businesses. In terms of content, we look at how we plan our content, and we do that because we want to drive visibility online for those clients, supporting what we're doing from a PR perspective. And that's very much kind of an organic SEO approach. So if you think about what Brad does, is very much more like a technical approach in terms of the keyword research and looking at page rankings and doing that work on the core web vitals. We're actually kind of the organic arm of that, which is actually creating the content that helps amplify those things that Brad's found through his technical work. And, you know, I've talked about working with Brad a lot. We've got a very collaborative model with the Anicca team, especially with the SEO guys, but also the wider team as well. So if there's work going on, say, with social, with Rachel's team, we'll feed into different content that can go on social from our team as well. And finally, I am obviously Anicca's a Leicester business. I was born and brought up actually in Northamptonshire, but I live in Leicestershire now. So, but fundamentally, I've come from the East Midlands. So, so know a lot of your businesses. I know, where you're all based, and happy to answer any questions that you might have about your local businesses as well. Okay, so let's dive in now and talk about PR. So public relations is all about reputation. So it's what you do, the result of what you do, what you say, and what others are saying about you. So, you want to have a good reputation. You want others to be saying really positive things about you and your business. And it's public relations itself is a discipline which actually looks after that developing of a positive reputation, with the aim of understanding and supporting influencing opinion and behaviour. So everything we do in PR is trying to get out a positive message, a positive kind of perspective on your business, your comms, your messaging, influencing others and encouraging them to kind of report favourably on your brand, on your business. And the Chartered Institute of Public Relations has a definition around PR, which I thought was useful to put in here because it actually brings the points about reputation influencing to life. So PR is a planned and sustained effort to establish and maintain goodwill and mutual understanding between an organisation and its publics. Now, when I studied PR way back when, those words were very much true then, and they still are now, because it's some of the outreach may have changed in terms of how we do PR, but it's still fundamentally about maintaining great relationships between your business and your audience, your publics, and developing a great understanding and having coherence, and getting people to understand what you're doing and to think about you favourably. So that has not changed. And so why do we want PR? So when we think about advertising, it's paid for, but PR is a free technique. So there's an old adage here: advertising is what you pay for, publicity is what you pray for. And obviously positive publicity, don't want to be praying for negative publicity. This is where PR experts come in to kind of help mould and kind of influence others with that pre-PR. PR is very much an awareness driver. It promotes your business. It gets people to understand and recognise who you are, so they're aware of you. And PR builds your credibility and definitely can enhance your reputation. And you want to be credible. And I'd say also PR isn't something that's kind of a one-hit wonder. PR is a sustained method of communications. It's about building your reputation up over a long period of time. So when it comes to things like crisis management, actually having a good reputation, having a lot of positive PR in the past, will stand you up in really good stead, because if you face a crisis, people actually will also remember all the good stuff you've done, not just the kind of immediate negative thing, which you can get over because you've got longer term awareness and positive communications in the past. So I've done a little satellite here to kind of explain some of the techniques and some of the things that PR kind of is, just to bring it to life a little bit. We will be talking about these in a bit more detail, particularly some of the core elements, such as press releases. So public relations, one of the things that we do is write press releases to send news stories out to the press. And we'll talk about that in a bit more detail in terms of how you structure those and how you position them. PR is all about case studies as well. It can be about promoting something through a case study and highlighting some really good work through that kind of technique. PR is very much a narrative and a story. You know, you're telling a story about your business, you're building a narrative, and you're sharing information about what your business does. So it's a storytelling. It's not false, though. Let's remember it's about building a positive reputation. But it's very much engaging people and having a story to tell and having more of a positive, you know, narrative and communication process with your target audience. PR can also manifest itself in events, through reviews, opinion pieces, reactive commentary. So it could be someone's commenting on a certain event. So you'll often see people being asked about their opinion on a certain topic, and that is PR. If your business gets mentioned in a positive light as well, particularly important. It's about also having coverage, generating coverage in print, across social media, across online channels, through TV and radio. You name it, where you see it, that's PR. If it's been generated by someone's behind it. So we call it earned media coverage because you're actually going out and earning that coverage. Radio is another example of an outlet that will cover PR stories. So, you know, we will call broadcast fundamentally things like TV, radio. Print is your publications, magazines, newspapers, and online are those journals and online sites that publish and you can be seen in through those different sites. Let's move on now to content marketing. So what is content marketing? This is a strategic marketing approach which is focused on creating and distributing valuable, relevant and consistent content. It attracts and retains a clearly defined audience, and ultimately it aims to drive a profitable consumer action. And so it's got a similar kind of, it's a similar discipline to PR, but it's about the consistency of content and kind of retaining a clearly defined audience. But with the difference with PR is often it's more of a profitable action. Often there's more of a conversion goal attached to content marketing. So why would we consider marketing content in terms of one of our free marketing techniques? So it very much amplifies your reach. It kind of ensures your reach gets further. It helps to increase brand awareness. So PR obviously does that to a huge extent, but actually content marketing really helps increase that. It can drive demand. So actually it gets people really excited about your brand and can actually increase people's need for something. It can help drive thought leadership. So, for example, either through your CEO on LinkedIn and with their speaking, or someone in your business, but also having your opinion shared through people like influencers and bloggers. That's really important, particularly, you know, in this kind of digital era and the era of blogging and online influencers. It's particularly important to think about that audience as a kind of key area for you to kind of promote your business in. So content marketing also helps create brand loyalty, and it helps drive credibility as well. I mean, PR does that too, but I would say the added area of content marketing is around those SEO techniques that Brad was talking about. So link building and optimization. So we're really going to be using those with content marketing to help drive that brand loyalty and credibility through those techniques. So instead of sending out a press release like with PR, we're thinking about how we optimize content, how we actually add links, and how we seed that content through more digital marketing techniques. So some of the things that we might see with content marketing are different pieces of information that people are looking for. So the press release, you're pushing information out, you're sharing information from your business that's news, that's not been heard of before, potentially, to a journalist and to a wider audience. With content marketing, you're actually listening to what people want and feeding that information in. So, for example, you might be creating an infographic with some really interesting stats and facts that your business has got. You might be looking at a guide on how to do something, or even answering some FAQs. People are seeking out this information. So actually, by pulling this information together through your content, you're actually answering their questions before they know they need it, or they're searching for it online. And if you're pushing FAQs out on a particular topic and someone's searching for that and you're answering it, you suddenly are developing more brand awareness through your content marketing efforts. You might also create short videos, how-tos. Blogs are a typical example of content marketing, obviously using those optimization and link building techniques that Brad talked about. Making sure you've got a strong call to action as well is really important within that. We're seeing the rise of podcasts ever since the pandemic. Podcasts were around before that, but they really became popular during during COVID, when people were not able to do anything. In particular, celebrities were doing podcasts more, and that's continued and has been a really successful way of building content, both for personal brands and business brands as well. There's other things that you can look at for content marketing, such as lists using bulleted information, and I think I mentioned FAQs earlier on as well. So content is really useful. In terms of an inbound marketing technique, it really can add depth, as it's really helpful. It's a source of information. As I mentioned earlier, if you're seeking something, you'll go on to a search engine such as Google and say, how do I do this? Or I'm looking for. And if you're providing content like that, having researched what people want, you're hoping that that piece of information comes up and gets into the hands of that audience. The thing is with content marketing, it shouldn't feel strained. It shouldn't feel like marketing. It should feel quite natural and less disruptive. Very often it should be personalised. You're answering that particular question that that person has. So, for example, it should be targeted. It certainly should be searchable information. You want people to seek it out. You want people to be able to find it. And, you know, you want to give someone what they are looking for, what they're seeking for, but it's from your business perspective. So it's a very subtle way of getting your branding and getting your business name out there through answering someone's question. So let's look at how we blend PR and content. So we discussed that PR and content are similar and they certainly complement each other. Both aim to enhance reputation and generate a positive sentiment. And the content created jointly aims to be relevant and both useful as well. It aims to increase your reach. So on its own, PR is really effective. On its own, content marketing is effective, but blending the two together makes it even more dynamic, makes it your reach increase even further. And it certainly helps get your message to a targeted or specified audience as well. The approaches are defined as owned and earned media. So we'll have a look at those now. So if we look at the blend here, so they very much have their separate attributes, but also they come together very neatly and complement each other. So when you have got owned content such as social posts, your press releases, blogs and websites, and a YouTube content, for example, you're owning that, you're putting that out there. And when you're earning your content, it's through PR coverage. It's from the press release that you're earning PR coverage. It's through thought leadership pieces and bloggers talking about you through what you've put out. It's through people liking you on social media and sharing that content. It's through people reviewing what you've done and giving you a 5-star rating. What's really important here is around reputation and sentiment. And you know, it's making sure that both you have a positive reputation and a positive sentiment, and the two really work well together. So reputation is controlled by the brand, but obviously you have other people who can destroy your reputation, but you want to do as much as you can to control that and push that out there from a very positive perspective. And sort of online and word of mouth content very much can trigger that kind of sentiment, that light, that positivity. Particularly if we see that through social, and I think you'll see that often on your own channels, people liking or not liking your content or making a comment about it, and that's what you're earning. So important to have both, because both work really well together and both stand alone, but also they're both much stronger with each other. So let's look at some PR techniques. So Cision has an annual survey which looks at the global state of media, and it asks journalists across the globe what their opinions are in terms of the news agenda, how they're being approached by PRs, what they like to see, the sort of most popular techniques. And I just think it was useful to pull out the most recent data. It was published quite recently, and it is their latest information. And this particular slide shows the information around which source do journalists consider the most useful for generating stories or ideas. And press releases consistently come out as top. For this particular year, I think it was 37%, and I think it was around the same figure in the last 2 years. But you'll see there, even in a digital era, press releases are a really important way for journalists to gather information. And it's a free technique. You know, you've got a news item, you've got something to say about your business, and, you know, journalists still expect and still want to see this in the form of a press release. Equally, they want to see your experts, your CEO, who's an influencer, you can share some thought leadership, talking to them as well. And if you don't know what a wire is, to like Associated Press or Bloomberg or Reuters, these are what we call news wires, where you would put a press release on and they will carry it and distribute it, and journalists pick it up. So it's just another way of getting your press release out there if you're not targeting a specific person. So I just thought it was useful to include this, because I just wanted you to see the power of a press release. And a press release is free. It's something you can do. And it's something that's really well received consistently. So I just wanted to highlight that this is something that hasn't gone away, even though some techniques have changed and PR has evolved. Another stat from the report here, so it should be 2022, not 2020. More than half journalists, 51%, have no tolerance for pitches rife with cliches, jargon, and clickbait sounding subject lines. So what that means is, and we'll talk about PR press release techniques, you know, say it how it is, you know, tell them facts and figures. They want to have information they can extract and put into their trade publication, their newspaper, talk about on radio. They just want to have a very straightforward information given to them. So how do we get that press coverage? It's important to understand, you know, how we go about getting really good press coverage from using a PR technique. So fundamentally, you need to understand what journalists are looking for. You need to know what they're writing about and what interests them, what piques their interest. You need to create a newsworthy story. There has to be information there that they haven't seen before. You have to think, well, why would they put that on their page? You know, why is that going to make? Why is that going to generate coverage? Why is their editor going to say, yes, I can put that, I can publish that story? It has to be something that's really strong and newsworthy, that perhaps has got great stats in it. So it could be, for example, your latest sales data. It could be some significant people that have just been employed by your business. So it's just something that's really strong and something that's going to make a difference to your brand or business or product. Headlines make all the difference. And I looked at the Cision data here, and it showed that 8 out of 10 recipients will only read your press release headline. So it's really important to make it count. So when we write press releases, well, I spend ages looking at the headlines and looking at the content there just to get it right, and that kind of then shapes the rest of the story. But you know, that's what grabs their attention, and that's something that, you know, spend a bit of time on it. So that's going to make the difference in terms of them, your journalists actually featuring or considering featuring your story. The better performing press release headlines hover at around 88 characters. And it's important to include the most important keywords, such as your company name, within the first 70 characters. That is because most search engines and email subjects lines get cut off. So it's not just in terms of it being short, snappy and eye-catching. Actually, from a kind of physical, technical perspective, you're not going to get seen if you've got many more characters than that. So that's really important. That's worth thinking about. And just make, I can't stress enough, make the press release relevant to the journalist and make your news really stand out. Make it kind of jump out in the first paragraph. And obviously headlines doing that as well for you. So how do we go about writing a press release? I think this is quite important to kind of illustrate how we actually get this constructed, so you know how to do it. So your headline should be really clear and concise. Remember those character counts we just talked about. Make it snappy and try and get your news into that header. In the first paragraph, the first sentence almost, we need to have the sort of main piece of information there. And you have to include who, what, where, when, why, and how. They're like the 5 or 6 fundamental pieces of information that you need to put out in that press release so people can actually understand what you're saying, who it's about, where it's happened, when it's happened, why it's happening, and how it's happened. And that basically allows a journalist they could extract the story just from that sentence there, okay? It acts as a hook almost, it hooks that journalist in, and we want them to then use that information to hook their readers into the story as well. So make sure you've got all that information there. You also want to add additional detail to kind of build on that story more. So you've got the fundamental information in that sort of first sentence, then you need to add the most relevant detail below that. Quotes are great, and think about who you're going to use to actually be quoted. Who are they? Get the job title right, make sure their name's spelt right. What are they going to say and why are they saying it? So it's just really kind of building that narrative. We talked about narrative earlier on, and by having a quote in there actually helps really kind of cement your story, gives them more context. Make sure you've got information, a call to action that allows people to get some further details. So it might be a link to your website, or it could be as well someone's contact details as well. And your notice to editors allows you to have additional information about your company. So, for example, if you've got some corporate information, you won't want to have that right at the top of your press release. You will have that further down your notes to editors, and you could even include some links in there as well, so people can link back to it if it's going to go online. But you don't need to have that kind of high tech corporate information right up front. You need to have it right down the bottom. So I just pulled out, this is very recent press coverage. I had to slice it a bit to get it all in because the picture was so big, but this is literally a very recent story, so 7th November. And you can see the kind of who, what, where, when, how in the headline here. So it's a UK company. Where is it happening? COP27. Where in Egypt? What's it doing? It's helping this happen. And the byline here is relevant because this is from a local Leicestershire online site, Leicester Business Live, and it's thrown straight in Leicester firm, really relevant. If it was a firm from Scotland, it's not going to be of interest to this particular journalist or this particular publication, but this is about a Leicestershire firm doing something that's actually pushing forward some activity for COP27. So that it's got a great picture and then information about it below. So you can see there how that comes to life. And in fact, this is being pitched to the journalist who is the most relevant for this particular story. So they would have actually identified who the journalist was, what they're writing about, and pitched this story in because it's so relevant, it's so timely, it's so topical. This story wouldn't work 4 weeks ago or in 4 weeks' time, but this is great timing for that story. So what's really interesting to think about in terms of PR is about building relationships with your target press and your journalists. So when we look at that story there, we think about how they targeted that particular journalist. They research what they're writing about. They understand the topics they're looking at, and also perhaps know how to contact them, either through an email via that site, or through Twitter, or through maybe LinkedIn even. And they've sent information that's relevant to that person at that time. They've also made sure they've got information that can support the story, such as that image we saw there, and there'll be quotes, for example, and maybe some stats to add into it too. It might be that that particular journalist also said, actually, I want to do a live interview, or I want to film you on a video and put it on our website. So if you are putting up a particular person to quote in the press release, it's likely in some cases that they will be asked to do an interview. So it's worth considering media training your spokespeople, that they're very clear about what they should say, when they should say it, and what they shouldn't say as well. And, you know, things like how they should come across and what they should wear, and kind of little nuggets and sound bites that they can communicate. So little techniques there that, you know, you need to think about in addition to your press release. So let's have a look at some content marketing techniques. Really important with content marketing, you're planning it, is to define your audience and to know what you want to achieve. So what's your objective of your content? What are your goals? What are the KPIs? What actually are you looking to achieve through facts and figures? And, you know, make sure you've done your keyword research ahead. Brad talked about that in some detail in the SEO presentation, but that's really important with content marketing. You think about where your content marketing is going to go, i.e. blogs. You know, this is going to be live, so you want to make sure you've got the most relevant keywords in there. It could also be in the form of social media, but think about what channel it's going to be on, what it's going to look like, what that outreach is. When you create it, you need to make sure that your content is optimized, that you've got a call to action, a CTA, and the most relevant links in that content as well. And to make sure, to understand how effective that content is, measure it, track its performance, analyze it, and don't be afraid to change it if necessary. So if you know you've got some great blog content but it's not getting some hits, maybe tweak it a bit to make sure that you know, you can look at some different ways of positioning it. You can maybe add some bullets, add some imagery, see if that makes any changes, and then, you know, then track it again. So go back to measuring it, tracking it, analysing it, and, you know, and equally, if you've got some content that works really, really well, you can look at repurposing that, and, you know, getting as much value from it as possible. So whether that's through a LinkedIn article, or on social, or doing a short video based on that content, or doing some FAQs or some how-tos based on that really useful piece of content that you've posted. PR, you've got a press release, it's newsworthy, it's out there, it's topical, it's timely. COP27 example, you know, is a great sort of illustration of that. Content marketing is kind of a bit of a longer burn. It's not a short-term solution. When you post a blog article, it's not necessarily going to get hit straight away. It can take sort of 3 months for organic SEO content marketing to seed. So you've got to think about a longer term plan with that. So if you want to gain short-term results, look at PR, use your content outreach as kind of a longer term support in terms of your content and PR solutions. Some useful tips here. Keep your content bite-sized, make it snackable. There is always room for LinkedIn articles and white papers, but blog posts, you know, there is a certain length of content that you need, but you can make some of the parts of it sort of snackable. So even if you've got your sort of 500 words for a blog, can you make some kind of parts of it stand out, make sort of little quotes in there, as I said earlier, bullet it. Because people don't have a lot of attention. Time magazine quoted recently that the average person's attention span is 8 seconds. And actually now, well, TikTok recently announced they've now got 1 billion users. So people just want to see quick stuff and scroll. They just literally want to scroll it through. But you want to create kind of thumb-stopping moments. So you've got to think about how you can get people to stop on your content. But people's attention span's getting worse and worse because they're loving TikTok and they're loving the immediacy of that. So you've got to think about that and think, actually, will this long article, this long blog post land? How's it going to work? How can I make it more user friendly? How can I get more people to kind of engage with it. So think about that. So think about snackable content. So how are you going to make all these different things work for your own business? So when you are thinking about your content, think about the goals. We would think here about how you're going to inform people, what you're telling them, entertain them. It's everyone has, you know, wants to be entertained. You know, if someone faces a huge long white paper and it's just literally loads of copy, I think everyone's going to think, oh, but, you know, entertain them. If you break it up, add those images in, add those bullets in, make it a bit lighthearted, talk to that person, think about your audience, engage them. You know, it's really important that they would then think they like that content so much they want to share it themselves or respond to it. Education is a really important thing here as well. Teach them something new, particularly if someone's looking for something new. I'm searching for, tell me how. You know, create content that's educational. And conversion. You want something with content marketing, particularly people to do something, have an action on the back of your activity. You want to convert them, whether it's through sales or adding them to a mailing list or a newsletter. What's your end goal in terms of conversion? So how do you put these techniques into place? How do you put pre-planning into place with content and PR? And Brad talked about answer the public. And I think, you know, we've got it here as well, but it's a really important way of actually looking at what people are, or understanding what people are looking for. But at the top of the list, I have actually put story mind with colleagues. Talk to your colleagues, talk to your customer service team, talk to finance, talk to different marketeers to understand what they are seeing, what they are hearing, what they are understanding in terms of what your audiences want. Because if you understand that, you know that, then that can really shape your content. Look at the data you have within your business. Often we go to meetings and we talk about different content we'll be creating. And then suddenly someone just mentions, they've, you know, oh, well, of course, we've got this data we're about to release, but hang on, this is great. You know, what can we do with this? So it's your own company data is so valuable because you own it. So you can do so much with that. So really think about what data you might have that you might be able to use. We talked about different Google platforms with Brad. Just jumping down to Twitter. Obviously, there's lots going on with Twitter at the moment. We don't know where Twitter's going, but currently a lot of journalists use Twitter. It's a source of instant news, and you can also get lots of requests from journalists through Twitter. So we don't know where Twitter is going to go, but currently, you know, it is being used by journalists. But watch your space on that. You know, this this could change in a matter of days. But do follow publications and journalists on their social media, not necessarily Twitter, but LinkedIn. I mentioned that earlier. Facebook potentially as well. There might be some journalists on TikTok, I'm not sure. But, you know, moreover, they're probably on, you know, I would look at LinkedIn and Facebook potentially for journalist follows and seeing what they're posting and sharing. If you're B2B, look at your forward features. Now is November. All the forward features list for 2023 should be available now for you B2B marketeers. So identify which publications you want to be in, go onto the website and download media list for 2023 and see where you've got some opportunities, because January articles are being written now. So, you know, don't miss the boat on that. So make sure you're kind of on top of that at the moment. So it's really good housekeeping to be doing that at this time of year. And I think, I don't know if Brad mentioned SEM Rush, but that's another way of kind of searching information there. Topic exploring, so using analytics to predict what might perform well in the future. So we can see, you know, where trends are going. We can monitor and listen and kind of predict different things. So it could be, if you're a business that's working in social media and you're intently looking at what's happening with Twitter, you could start to have a narrative around that now and start to actually push out an opinion and shape people's opinion based on what you know, for example. It's worth looking at Google Analytics, Google Alerts, or using a service like Talkwalker to look at different trends and see what's happening. And don't be afraid to kind of see what your competitors are doing as well. It might be that they are doing some interesting things, or even missing a trick. There might be things they're not doing, and you might see a gap in the market. So these are different ways that you can kind of get to know and explore different topics. In terms of generating content, don't also be afraid to ask customers what they want. You know, speak to your stakeholders, listen to what your customers are saying on social media, listen to what they're saying about your business. So that can actually be a spark to have new content. Look at keyword or use keyword research to understand what will actually work. So look at trend-based keyword research, understand what's happening right now. Look at active terms, look at the most popular high-ranking keywords, and look at those audience questions on Ask the Audience. Reddit is a really good source of information, so something we've used increasingly now, Reddit as a kind of content generation tool. And trend-based and topical content is something that all journalists love and something your audience love, because if you're picking up on something that's new and different, that's something that's going to be really interesting for them because it's new and exciting and different. So what techniques can we use here? So video, always, we talked about people's short attention spans. So actually video, short blog posts, podcasts, you know, always popular. And YouTube, the SEO you get off YouTube is incredible. So that's a really good place to actually put some of that content. Just it's important as well to review what your content drivers are to make sure they're still relevant and they're still being watched or viewed or understood or, you know, interacted with by your audience, because people have dropped off, maybe they've gone somewhere else. Make sure you're creating content that's unique, because it's really a good quality of SEO. So we talked about that blog post earlier that might be performing really well. It's important you just don't replicate that. You've got to have unique content. So you can use some of the strands, but make sure you're repurposing that content in a way that's new and different, and has different bullet points or some new FAQs within it. Otherwise, it's not going to be, you'll be impacted negatively from Google. And sharing other people's content does not necessarily position you as an expert leader or an owner. So you could share someone's content, but comment on it. Use it as a kind of precursor to talk about your own business. It's important you have your own insights, opinions, and thoughts. You need to own the space. And imagery is a really important way of kind of piquing people's interest and their attention as well. Like video, it's that kind of, that create a thumb-stopping moment. Sort of think about people's lack of attention span, and images and videos are really going to help kind of make them stop and think. When we think about how to get hold of journalists, if you don't know who's writing about who, and it's not always on the magazine's website, you don't even often get that information. But you can Google people. You can even guess the format of their names, for example. But you know, there's lots of sort of things you can do to actually find that. And if you have got access to a media database, that's where you really will sort of hit gold in terms of getting those names. Or just pick up the phone or phone up the publication and ask for the journalist's name. Old-fashioned, but it will work. Importantly, jot those contacts down in a spreadsheet and keep them up to date. Also allows you to kind of keep track of what they're writing about and when and what topics they're looking at. So when you've got topics to feature later on or particular subjects, you can sort of identify the right journalist to pitch that story to. And also there might be particular press outlets that you know you can always land a story with, that you can always get coverage with. So worth keeping note of them. So there's some top 10 takeaways now, which I think summarise the presentation, but also allow you to understand sort of, or have some techniques that you can kind of do now. So number one is know your story and make it newsworthy. So know what your news is, and make sure you've got as much information that's relevant and presented in the right way to get into the hands of the right journalist and into the right publication. What is your point of difference? You need to identify opportunities, research where you're different as a business, brand or product. Who's the competition and what are they doing? Look at the questions that no one else is asking, and to create really high and provide a different angle or unique content. It's important that your content is really high quality, that people actually want to use it, and look at what content has worked in the past as well. because actually people are creatures of habit, and if they love an FAQ for a particular topic, you should go down that route again, because they'll go to it time and time again. Make sure the press releases you're writing compelling and have loads of interesting data and resources in them, so people can take it. That's, we talked about snackable content before, and make sure they can take that and extract that information. Use link building techniques and optimize your content, as Brad talked about, and to make sure your blogs really are fit for purpose and are landing well online. Make sure your site speed's up to scratch. Make sure, also going to imagine here, mobile first. I was really interested in Brad's, what he was saying about being mobile first and how important that is. Your metas and headers and your H1s, make sure they're all fit for purpose and your content really stands up. So when you are, if it's going to be reproduced online, you know, it works, it's fit for purpose. Look at what's working, analyze it, tweak it, change it if necessary. And remember, be digital first. Always think about being immediate, and, you know, use those kind of traditional techniques, but be digital first. And I think that's it. Yeah. If there's any questions, I don't know if there's any questions, Anne, in the chat. I've not been looking, otherwise I get too distracted.
No, I don't think there's anything specifically, but if you want to hang around for a few minutes and ask some questions. Yeah. Apologies, we're running late, guys. What I'm going to quickly do is I'm going to just bring up some of the offers, because I know some of you will have to go at 11 o'clock. So first of all, I am going to, let me just have a quick look. I'm going to ask people to leave a Google review. So if you like what you've seen today, please leave a Google review. You have to be logged in, and if that's a bit of a pain for you, then what I'll do is I will also put a general reviews.co.uk one up as well. Please mention if you like Brad's and Amy's, please, and also later on, once you've seen the other one as well. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to mention that we've just got additional training for both the East Midlands, so that's Leicester, Nottingham, Lincolnshire and Derbyshire. That's for unemployed and self-employed. However, if you're an employer and you've got staff, we've got two things going on. We've got a employer event next Thursday. So if any of you are interested in either training your team, or if you are got staff, obviously, that you want to support on the course, it's going to cost you somewhere between £250 and £750 to put somebody through this 3-month course. And at the end of it, you get a level 5 qualification. However, if you are unemployed or self-employed, you do get it for free. So employed people can take part, but the difference now is that their employer has to support them. And we've got this across 7 counties altogether. And there's one course that starts, the Norfolk and Suffolk course actually starts next week. So if you are interested in that one, you need to get a move on, because we need to get your contract to you. If you are somebody that actually wants to take part yourself, then please let us know. I'm just trying to find out where that one is. I think it's a bit further down. So if you are interested in actually being a learner, then you can click on this link. Don't fill in the form yet, but just go and have a look. There it is. So we've got one that starts on the East Midlands on the 23rd of November, and the Norfolk and Suffolk one starts next week. We pretty much fall on that one, but if you're desperate to come on it, so if you click here and register your interest, we'll pick you up later, and you can, it just takes you to the page with a bit of information, but we'll be able to pick that up from the big marker. Okay, now, thank you, Amy, very much. Brad, I think you guys can disappear. We're going to have a go at playing Rachel's video now. So unless there's any more questions for Amy and Brad, let's see if we can fire up. Now, we found out this morning that Rachel's actually got COVID. So she's not in any fit state to be seen. She's going to be sitting around in the background to answer questions. So let's see if this works. Okay, so I'm going to start to play the video. Katie, you might need to turn your mic off. I'll turn mine off in a minute once it's going.
It's off. It's off.
Let's see how we get on. Now, hopefully, is this gone back to the beginning, or is this? Yeah. Okay.
Wanted to kind of quick march through that, but do post any questions and I'll answer them now. So now over to Rachel. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, thank you. I am just conscious of time. Obviously, we've got 5 minutes left of what we proposed for the webinar, so I'll try to be quick. My slides are quite concise, so hopefully that helps. So I'm going to be talking about organic social media, and I've tried to cover everything, but concise essentially. So we haven't gone into too much detail, but I just wanted to ensure that all the basics were there for you to get the most out of your social media. So that includes the realities of social media, what's an algorithm, how to make a good social post, how to create a strategy, useful tools, and then we'll end on some top tips. So just a teeny bit about me. I'm relatively new to Anicca. I've been here for 3 months. I've been working in social for 7 years, so quite a long time now, and that's between agencies and in-house. And then just something that I do like external to Anicca, I'm one of 25 trainers in the UK for Facebook. So that's part of the She Means Business campaign, which is essentially a program ran to help train women in digital, so giving them more digital skills. And I work with a lot of small businesses as well. So a lot of the businesses that I work with primarily use organic social because it's free. So it's very helpful for those sorts of businesses. So we'll start with what is organic social. So organic social is social media on any of these platforms, but you're not paying for advertising. So you're using organic social in the same way that you would in a personal capacity. So this is taking advantage of the features that the platforms give you for free. So here I've got an example of a Facebook event. That's a really good tool and that's free, using stories or highlights on Instagram. And then also using Twitter, for example. This is a recent campaign from Burger King where they gave firefighters free burgers on fireworks night. Okay, so these are the realities of organic social media, because it isn't easy. Although it's free, it isn't easy. It's really hard to get right. So the landscape is saturated. Not only do you have your brand posts, you have all of the posts from your friends, all of the posts from people you follow, influencers, ads. There's a lot of competition. And it's also worth noting that brands' reach is far lower than what you'll see from your personal account. So essentially, the platforms want you to pay for advertising. So over the years, the reach has declined a lot for brands, but that's why you need to have really engaging content to cut through all of the ads and all of the other noise that happens on social. So the algorithm dictates success. An algorithm essentially is a framework that social media platforms use to decide whether your content is relevant to the audience and whether it's good quality enough to be shown. And this changes weekly or monthly. They don't actually tell you when the algorithm changes. So it's something that you generally have to work out from the content of the performance of your own content or through reading blogs, because a lot of people share blogs and information about this sort of thing. So they're really helpful. And obviously reporting is helpful because you can see the changes in your content over time. You don't need to be on every social media platform. So just use the platforms which are best suited to your company or audience. And remember that each platform has a different purpose. For example, Twitter is very commonly used for customer service queries, and Instagram is more of a digital version of your shop window. So that's where you share images of all your products. Excuse me. And just remember that the way that you're using these platforms for your business, it's just like you would in your personal life. So say something when it's worth saying and on a platform where it's most relevant. And this is really important. A lot of people get hung up on this, but followers are really not important. So just because you have people following your page or following your Instagram, it doesn't mean they're going to see your content. So the algorithm, again, dictates who sees your content. It doesn't really matter anymore what time you post your content, because feeds aren't chronological anymore. And also remember that reach is really minimal. So platforms want you to pay for advertising, so they scrape that back. So it doesn't mean that if somebody's following you, they're going to see your content. And a lot of brands get really caught up on this, and they try to incentivize their followers. So like having a competition where you have to say follow and we'll enter you into the competition, that sort of thing. But that's really bad practice. So it does get followers up, but a lot of the time, those followers are just interested in the competition. They're not interested in your service, your brand, your product. They just want to win. So you'll see a really high drop-off eventually, or you'll see your engagement rate go down, which both you don't want to happen. So if you can avoid incentives like that, that's best to. And it's best to just accept that if you post really good, engaging content, your followers will grow, but it will be slowly and over time. But those people are more likely to convert and buy your product or use your service. So following on from that, give your followers a reason to engage and follow you. People don't want to be advertised to. They see enough adverts on social media, and they really don't want to be sold to on organic social, because it's very easy for them to unlike your page or hide your posts. What they want to do is be engaged. They want to feel something from your post. So make your post informative, make it humorous, make your audience feel something so that they feel compelled to like or share or comment on your post. So what is an algorithm and how do I post content which works? Oh, my emojis have gone really strange here. They were like normal Apple emojis, but they've gone strange. So an algorithm is essentially a formula that each platform has, and the formula is the deciding factor of if your content gets shown to people, how relevant it is to people, and how long it exists on the newsfeed for, really. And Instagram have recently published what dictates the success of your content within the algorithm. And usually platforms don't share this. So it was really strange that Instagram did share this, and really helpful. So what Instagram look for is information about the post. Is it a video? When was it posted? How many likes does it have? Then they look for information on the poster. So how interesting are they to you? How often do people engage with their content? Then they look at your activity. So do you tend to watch a lot of videos? What type of content do you typically engage with? And then they look at your interaction history. So do you typically like or comment on the poster's posts? So a lot of factors go into determining whether your content is relevant and whether it will be shown to your users. If it ticks a lot of those boxes, then yep, great, it will be shown to the users on their feed. If it doesn't, you'll see that your reach will be quite low. So what makes a good social post? And I'm going to look into the tips and techniques of how to do this. Why video? So obviously video dominates social media at the minute. The launch of TikTok, it is all video. There is no other format there. It's filtered across into Instagram. So you'll see more and more videos on Instagram, and also Facebook as well. And all of the platforms, favor video. And that's because it's engaging, and therefore the amount of engagement you receive on that content will be high, because a lot of the videos are classed as if you watch it for over 3 seconds, then that's an engagement, which is very different to somebody commenting or liking your post. It has a longer lifespan than any other types of content. So on TikTok, for example, if you upload a video, you can see traction weeks later. And that is not the same on any other platform. Instagram, it disappears. Twitter disappears within 15 minutes. So it does have a much longer lifespan, especially on platforms like TikTok. It appeals to a Gen Z audience, and we think that's likely because they grew up with YouTube, so they're very familiar with video. Obviously, TikTok is massive with Gen Z as well, so they enjoy that type of content. And people generally love to watch videos. They're an engaging format that's great for storytelling. And if you feel the need to sell your products or show how your services work, video is a much more entertaining way to do that. So what makes a good video? So if you've considered video within your content strategy, these are some tips on how to make your videos work and how to perform better. So make sure that the first 3 seconds are the most engaging part of the video, because you want to capture that audience. You want them to watch as long as possible. But as you know, people scroll really quickly. So you want to capture their attention within the first 3 seconds. And then something to consider is how you can humanize your content. So people engage with people. Quite often I end up watching my TikTok feed is just people generally. If the TikTok starts with something that isn't a person, I generally scroll on because I'm not as interested. And that's just human nature. People do this. Make sure that the video size ratio is suitable to the platform and the placement. So on TikTok and Instagram stories, obviously you want to work with vertical video. If you're using a video in the Facebook feed, you want it to be square. So just make sure that your content is suited to where it's being shown. Keep your video short on the key messages at the beginning. When I brief anybody on creating a video, I say 15 seconds or less, because it's not really likely that anybody's going to watch further than 15 seconds, especially within an ad or on social, because they want short content. And also there's a lot of apps to help you create engaging videos. So there's an app called InShot, which is it's essentially just a video editing app, but that's really useful. And there are loads of these out there to help you create really good content. So images. Obviously images are the easiest type of content for most brands to use. And that's okay. That's fine. Instagram's changed over the years. So it used to be the best version of your life, lifestyle images, that sort of thing. And that actually made it quite difficult for brands that didn't have that type of content. But that's not important anymore. You can use infographics. You can use branded content. You can use assets that you've created yourself through Canva. It doesn't need to be perfect anymore. And also what Instagram wants from the content is they want people to be engaged. So make the most of all of the engagement-based stickers, such as the polls and the Q&As. And a little tip for you here is that if people aren't seeing your feed content, try to make use of those in-story features like the Q&As and the polls, because if people are using those, then Instagram thinks they're interested in your content, and then more of your content will get shown to these people. So definitely use them as much as possible. Even the swipe functions, they don't need to submit an answer, but just make it easy for them to engage. And carousels is another example of that. If somebody's swiping through your carousel to look at the third picture, that indicates to Instagram that they're engaged with your content, so therefore will show people more content. So try to use all of those within your strategy. And then captions. These, for a lot of people, are the worst part. I myself sit there for ages thinking on my personal Instagram, what do I put for this caption? And I sit there for ages thinking about it. And you don't have to. What you just have to remember is that you need to engage people. So ask a question, add humor into your caption, offer an insight such as a fact, or try to tell a story. You can use emojis to break up your text. And also, it's worth noting here that you should vary your caption length. So if you can offer more of a story within a longer form, try that, because like people do read them and people do engage them, and therefore if they like what's in the caption, then they'll like the post and they'll comment on it. Or if you don't have too much to say, that's okay. That you can have a shorter caption. Just ask them a question, or making sure that it is still engaging. Don't just put an emoji, for example. Try to use your audience's language. So if you're using a younger audience, make sure that you're using like the terms that younger audiences use, so slang, like emojis, that sort of thing. And try to finish on a call to action. So if you want people to sign up or learn more, or ask them if they're interested, that sort of thing. And then don't forget to use interact with users who have commented. So keep that conversation going, because that grows loyalty. So we'll move on to creative best practice. We have 6 creative best practice rules to adhere to. So number 1 is branding. Make sure that your profiles are all fully branded, so people can identify when they go onto your profiles, oh, this is XX brand. Timing. Obviously, timing isn't as important anymore because feeds aren't shown chronologically, but you need that initial engagement. So make sure that you post when your audience is online. And so it doesn't need to be too specific. If you know your audience is online in the evening, then that's fine. Do your post around 6, 7, 8 o'clock when they're at home. Sound videos, 85% of videos are viewed with sound off. So if you are talking in your videos, make sure that captions are in there. Excuse me. And a lot of platforms auto generate captions, so they make it really easy for you to do that. Number 4 is format. Make sure that your ad or your piece of content is getting the best opportunity. Make sure that your content is suitable for the placement that it's been shown in. So obviously Instagram stories will do vertical placement. Or if you're using audience networking ads, you want it to be horizontal. So keep that in mind. Number 5, you want to keep their attention. So keep it short and snappy and don't over explain. And number 6, explore. So feel free to be creative. Try all of the polls and Q&As on Instagram stories. Try TikTok. Why not? Everybody's using it. Just give it a go. Like, you have to learn somewhere. And at the end of the day, social media is fun, and it should be fun and engaging for everybody. So platform usage. When thinking about a channel plan, consider the ways that people use platforms and interact with the content. So you have on the go and captivated viewing at the other end. On the go can be Instagram stories. If you're going to a really exciting event, or you've got a new product in and it's just landed and you want to open the box and show everybody, that is unplanned and that is frequent. But the really good part of that is that it's human, and it's that human connection that people like to engage with. But on the other end of the spectrum, you have examples such as YouTube. So that's obviously a really considered piece of content that's planned, that's edited really thoroughly, and people watch for a long time. So you just have to consider the type of platform and the type of content you're creating for it. So the content purpose. What are you wanting to showcase in the post? There are different rules of engagements for the various need states. So that's split into brand and performance. So brand, the key considerations are early and often, thumb-stopping visuals, use speed and multiple scenes, and go as vertical as possible. So this is in the context of video. Vertical placements are really common now, and that's something that you should consider in a lot of your content. And then on the other side is performance. So the key considerations here is to showcase your product or service, to get noticed, to keep it simple, and include promos and offers. So this is just an example of some of the formats that are available within the platforms. And as you can see, they do vary: square, vertical, horizontal. And then you have some of the in-between, which are not quite vertical, but not quite square. So you just have to make sure that the content you're creating is suitable for the right platform. And there are certain aspects of content which we don't actually recommend using. So when you're scrolling through your feed, you want your post to be as big as possible, essentially, for people to see it. So we would recommend not using the horizontal placements. If you're doing Facebook feed, Instagram feed, even Twitter now, are using square assets, try to avoid horizontal. We only use horizontal within ads that have limited placement. So, for example, if you're advertising on the audience network through Facebook platforms, that's a horizontal placement, and that can't be changed. So we create assets in that size for that placement. But generally on organic social, don't use horizontal content. So after we've spoken about all the tips, now I'm going to tell you how to create a strategy, because yeah, it's great having all those tips, but where do I start? So I've outlined this for you really simply. So before you start posting, you need to come up with your content pillars, and content pillars are essentially, let's say, 5 topics that you're going to talk about within your social strategy. So that could be your brand, that could be the personality of your brand. So, for example, if you're the owner of your brand, you might want to have a presence there. Your product, you might want to be a thought leader in your industry. So you are just deciding these 5 things that you're going to talk about every month. And then using them, you're going to input them into a monthly content calendar. So I use Google Sheets to do this. I just create a calendar every month for my clients, and I slot in the content pillars. So they are the basis of how I plan my content. And from there, I bulk it out. So I add in awareness days. So if Christmas is coming up, or it's National Pancake Day and it's relevant to one of my clients, for example, I add in those sorts of things, and you could just find those out online for free. As well as that, I add in any commercial activity. So if you know Black Friday's coming up and you're having a sale, put that in there. Christmas, and obviously the January sales. If you have a new product launching, add all of those commercial aspects in there. And then from there, you decide what format each post will be. So if it will be a story, if it will feature on the feed. And then once you've decided all of those, that's when you start to create the content and write the captions for the posts. Obviously, that bit's quite time consuming, but you can do it in one bulk. So you can just think, okay, it's the last week of November. I'm going to have all of my content ready for December, and you can work on it in that 1 week, schedule it all for December, and you don't have to think about it. So it's great. You can just do it all at once. And I'm going to show you through some useful tools, which I use day to day, and they're all free. So Canva, this is a great tool. You can do pretty much everything creatively on Canva. It's really simple to use. You have templates. There's also set sizes for different social posts. So you can just click Instagram story and it will size for Instagram story. Very easy. A lot of people use this. Next is Facebook Creator Studio. So you can schedule content in advance for free through Facebook. You don't need to pay for a scheduling tool. Obviously, if you're a large agency or a large business, it might be beneficial to do that because you have multiple users, that sort of thing. But if you're running a small business or you have a small marketing team, then this is absolutely fine. You don't need to pay for a tool. This will do. Unsplash. So finding images can be quite hard on the internet. Obviously, you want royalty-free images. Or you might not have a license to Adobe Stock. Unsplash is a really good source of high quality royalty-free images that if you do want to create your Instagram feed really perfectly and nice, this is a great tool because they're really beautiful images and they don't generally look like stock images. Hashtag Stack. This is a really good tool for selecting the hashtags to your post. So you put in the topic of your post. So in the example here, I've put social media marketing. And then it's pulled up all of the relevant hashtags that other people use within these posts, how many posts are using them, how many likes and comments, for example, that are associated with the hashtag. So that's a really good indication. And you can just select them and copy them all at once, then post in your Instagram post. So very speedy. Pictochart. This is similar to Canva, but this is just for infographics. So you can put all of your branding in here. These are really great for platforms such as LinkedIn, where you're using, obviously it's a bit more professional LinkedIn, but you still want to create engaging content that isn't a white paper or something long and wordy like that. If you want to make it visual, this is a really good tool. And then finally, Google Sheets. And you're probably thinking, why is this boring tool in there? But it's actually the most helpful thing. Loads of people can collaborate within Google Tools. So if you have a client, I use it with all my clients. So I can obviously create things in Google Sheets and clients have access to them and can amend or feedback. And it's live, so you don't have all of the problems of, oh, I have the wrong version or I've copied over this version. And they're really versatile. You can do a lot within Google Sheets. So definitely recommend using those over Excel. And then finally, I'm just going to finish on some top tips. So try to report as best as possible on your content. It doesn't need to be anything too extreme, as long as you can recognize which content has performed well and the changes month on month. So you just need to measure your key metrics. So that's engagements, followers, if that's something you want to measure, video views, that sort of thing. There are a lot of free sources to keep up to date. So I often look at later.com, and Later is actually a scheduling tool that you pay for, but they provide really, really good content on how to create good content, what the algorithm changes are, everything you could possibly want to know about Instagram. Later have it on their blog. And also Social Media Examiner. That's a really, really good source of finding out information about social media. And then lastly, join groups on Facebook to help with this. So I'm part of a group which is called Social Media Geek Out. And there's a lot of like very professional social media experts in there who run social media for large agencies and large brands. They're all part of this group, and they all share their top tips or problems that they've experienced. And it's just generally the first place I go to if I think the algorithm's changed or why is my content not performing, that sort of thing. And everybody's willing to help, and it's a really good community. So join those if you can. And that is it. And I'm sure there's been some questions in the chat, which I can answer if we have time. I'm not sure. Katie, do we have time?
Ideally, if you can.
Excellent. So thank you very much, everybody, for hanging around. Rachel's in the wings and is able to answer any questions. So if any of you have got any questions, Rachel is available to answer them. We will be sending the video out in a couple of hours. I know that Rachel, obviously you didn't see Rachel, so I just put up a review for if you want to thank Rachel as well. So let me just quickly put that one up there. For everybody else, next week is the paid version of this. So what I'll do now is I'll just get the link for that one. Is Katie or anybody else on the call? Just to
I am in the background trying to help.
I just wondered if there was any questions that we needed to answer. Well, I just quickly get the link for next week.
I think Rachel's been amazing and answered the whole way through. But if we've missed anything, it'd be a good time to just put a message through. It looks, I think everything's been answered. Looking at it, to be honest.
Excellent. Well, if you can bear with me, I will just get the link for next Tuesday. We're going to be covering paid media, so we'll be covering paid search and paid social. So if you're new to that, it's another introduction day. So let's just grab the link there and share it in the chat so you can all.
I can get it if you want, Anne, and you could tell everyone about the boot camps.
I've got it. It's all right.
Have you done it? Okay.
Yeah, I've got it. There's a very strange offer come up. I didn't think. Yeah, so you should be able to. Oh, I think I've missed the Friday off the end. Let me just put it in again. Let me see if I've got that correct. It does look a bit strange. Perhaps somebody can let me know if that link is working.
Yeah, it works.
I'll just put it in.
Oh, thanks, Brad.
Is it the first one that works?
One I got.
The second one.
The second one. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, the first one had accidentally, I missed the Y off. Well, thanks very much, everybody. If anybody's got any questions, we'll see you next week. We're also running the employer event for anybody that's got any staff that wants to come on the training or have got any job offers. We've got about 40 people we're trying to place jobs with across the East Midlands. If you want to email myself or Katie about that would be brilliant. Or if you want to talk to us. We've got a new employer liaison officer, Salima, who's going to be helping with that as well. So thanks, everybody. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.